Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Are We There Yet podcast. I'm your host, Susan Ruth.
I'm your host, Mara Adelman, and we are two humans, and we are going to have the real conversations and help raise the questions that everybody has around what it means to have good relationships, dating, and sex.
That sounds great. Welcome to episode 1.
Woo! Here we are. I'm so excited to be doing this. Where's your there, Miss Susan? Where's your there right now as far as the dating, relationship, and sex world?
Sex is with myself. Dating, I'm enjoying meeting people, getting to know people, not worrying too much about what it all means. I feel like I'm on a road of discovery of who I am and what I want and what I need. That's my space.
Just trying to figure out your person.
Yeah. What about you? Where are you?
I want the whole damn package. I have done a lot of dating in my life, and I'm at that point where I'm like super good at being alone. I love my life, but I want that partner in crime. I want that person that's your person, right? That close, intimate relationship. And it's really hard to find, but I'm not going to give up. For me, it has to feel like all these pieces line up. And I coined the 4 C's. So I want there to be chemistry, compatibility, connection, and the correct timing, the correct clock. And it's really hard to find all those 4 things. Yeah.
What does the correct clock mean? What is that?
Like the right timing. Like,
oh, okay. Like you both want it at the same time.
Well, yeah, like you both want the same, you're both looking for a relationship, for example, or one of you isn't 60 while one of you is 20 and you can't have children, or correct timing, right? Like one of you isn't just literally 2 seconds out of a divorce, because that might not bode as well.
When I'm 60, I would like a 20-year-old.
I have done the much younger thing. It is not horrible.
Horrible.
But it brings up all the issues around the not correct clock, because I couldn't have children. I was old enough that I was not wanting to have children at that point. So yeah, so I want those 4 things. I saw this thing on a podcast about the iceberg. So the chemistry is up at the top. You meet somebody and there's attraction and chemistry and you're just like all in. And then for me, all the stuff under the water is what has to happen. The compatibility, the shared values, some shared interests, the connection, like where your cells like just know each other. Kind of like when we met, where we're like, I might've known you in some past life.
Sure. Along
with the timing being right. So for me, all those things have to line up. And then I'm going to be very happily having lots of sex after that, hopefully.
I feel like my iceberg is on its side, because for me, like chemistry, certainly, but I like the slow burn of getting to know someone. For me, I really want to dive into who you are and what you think and why you think it. It probably stems from asking people a million questions for the last 6 years on Hey Human podcast.
Yes, please tell us your day. What's your other job? Tell us about that.
Oh, I do all sorts of things, but my other podcast is Hey Human podcast, and I talk to people from all walks of life about who they are, what they are, why they are, that kind of thing. And it's really created in me over the last few. I think I've always been curious. I've always been that person, but when it comes to significant others or potential sex partners or whatever, I think I'm what they call was it sapiosexual?
Yeah.
Sapiosexual. I knew that was in there somewhere in my brain. And I really connect with people on a mental level, and that turns me on.
Right.
Somebody who's smart and engaged, someone who cares about the world and all that stuff. And I think it takes time to discover who a person is. I always say people send their representatives, and it takes about a year to really know someone. And for all their masks, the ones that everybody has masks, we all go through our lives wearing different kind of masks for different things, but the ones that aren't real, I think, are hard to maintain over a long period of time for most people. Maybe not if you're a sociopath or something, but and so the pretense will fall away.
Very true.
And then you see the real person.
I think we're going to do a subject about slow dating in the future, about that concept of like the slower you get to know somebody, which also sometimes means dating multiple people. Mm-hmm. This one podcast I listened to calls it the mantourage dating. If you're dating multiple people casually and being super radically honest about that with people, then it's going to slow things down automatically. And you're not going to end up in a situation where you're with a narcissist or with somebody who truly can't communicate or any of those things, right? I need somebody who's like, super radical honesty, communicate. I'm over it in 30 seconds. Let's talk about it, get over it, and go have some makeup sex. Done. Right.
Yeah, and
So a lot of people have a hard time with that style of communication, I think.
radical honesty is a tough one to learn in general.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to hurt other people, right? So I've been in things that have taken up a lot of my time, energy, and thought because I was under an idea that of my own making that, oh, well, I'll just wait this out, see where it goes. Where we talk about breadcrumbing and ghosting and all that kind of stuff, where the breadcrumbing, for me, is the worst because they come back around and you think, oh, maybe this time it's going to be different. It's never different. It's not different.
It's the worst.
It's just never different. And to have that wherewithal and that boundary and that self-worth, I guess, I'm not really sure if that's what that is, but to say, I deserve more than that. And if you're not willing to give me that, that's fine. But to say, not only am I not in this place, but I will never be in this place, or I don't know if I'll ever be in this place, but I'm almost positive it won't be with you. But I think people are scared they're scared to let you down. They're scared to hurt your feelings. They're scared that they might be wrong and they need that window to stay open that they can call back through in case.
I think that's why people breadcrumb. They don't want to be wrong. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I've recently went through that where I was love bombed, ghosted, zombied, which is when they come back, breadcrumbed, ghosted. And finally I was like, wow, like I was accused of I have been accused of being kind of intense, but I'm sorry, like when you really like somebody, that kind of happens. And we'll talk more about attachment styles someday, but I have a kind of an anxious attachment style. But hold on, when you're talking about dating somebody and possibly moving into a relationship, that is like one of the biggest decisions we make, right? That can change your entire trajectory of your life. It affects your finances, your emotional health. And so I think being a little intense about it and deliberate about how you are moving into that is smart. Yeah.
And those are the last thoughts on my mind. You and I are so different, which is
I know.
I try so hard to just be in the moment. My thing is just be safe. Like, be honest with me, be safe. If you are dating other people, you're having sex with other people, great. Go have that life, have that experience. I'm still interested. Give me the benefit of the doubt and the respect to say that is or isn't okay.
So like we both said, radical honesty, say
yeah.
It is. Well, and I think, so my day job, I'm a physician assistant at a large family practice clinic for 18 years. And I was working with a lot of my patients and realizing they were unhealthy. Well, a lot of people are unhealthy, but a lot of it was stemming from their relationships being unhealthy. And then when I really dug in deep with them, it's because they were having issues with their sex life that made their relationships unhealthy, that then made their health unhealthy. Mm-hmm. And I went and took a sexology program, and I found that I'm able to incorporate that into what I do. And then I also started a coaching business, Love Coach Mara. And that's fun, working with clients and helping people have better sex, dating, and relationships. And I found that all of it helped me understand myself better. So that's what you and I are going to do. We're going to understand ourselves better and help other people learn how to do this.
Yeah.
Better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love you. I adore you and respect you. And you and I, our friendship blossomed so quickly. We met in such a peculiar circumstance, and we were both at the same restaurant. I wanted to sit outside. You were already sitting outside, and you said, "Come sit with me," which was such a lovely, open thing for you to do. And we became fast friends. I mean, I feel like I've known you forever. And so since that day, we've had such deep, interesting, intimate, vulnerable conversations. Mm-hmm. And so this made sense to let's just start talking to each other, and maybe some other people will, be helped by it.
I that's my hope, that like somebody can listen to the first 100 episodes and be like, it's almost like they should have taught this stuff in school. So I realized I've dated for 3 decades now. That's crazy. And I've had medium, short, long. I was engaged at one point, stepchildren, but like in my 20s, it was serious relationship, sex. That's all I cared about. Like, woo, once I was out of that serious relationship. And then in my 30s, it was reading all these tons of relationship books about like trying to understand, because everybody I talk to says, why is this so hard? This shouldn't be this hard, but it is. So now in my 40s, like you said, understanding ourselves better is going to be the secret. Our triggers, our attachment styles, our love languages. And so we are on a journey and already understand these things about ourselves. and we will continue to learn. Now
we're figuring it out.
Yeah, continual emotional intelligence, right? I want my emotional intelligence to be like sky high, and I want to date somebody whose emotional intelligence is sky high. So the fact that we get to do this, it's almost, we had talked about, you had interviewed me on your Hey Human podcast about how both of our spirit is kind of like teachers. We want to teach people. So we get to do that in the form of this and get it out to millions of people all over the world.
Yeah, you actually have credentials for this sort of thing. I do not, but I am a student of life.
You are the most
figure it out on the way, and who I am and what I want. And I think because we come from such different backgrounds and philosophies and what we're even looking for right now, I'm on a journey of discovery, I feel like, of what I want and who I am. And you are very sure of what you want.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be for an interesting conversational.
Well, and like we've talked about, everything is opposite in us. But don't sell yourself short. You are one of the smartest, fast, wittiest, philosophical people I know. And all those interviews you've done on Hey Human.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of knowledge you've gleaned from other people's lives is insane.
Yeah. It has been very helpful to.
Yeah.
And I've been hot for some of those people.
You've had hot. Really? You'll have to tell me more about.
Oh God, there's been a couple of interviews I've done where I just afterwards I'm like, holy cow, that person was.
Was it more their mind?
Yes, because for me, it's all in the brain. And so if the conversation is super heady and deep and like really, really engaging,
you're like, ooh, that does it.
That does it. Yeah, absolutely.
I need to have that, but for me, it's the connection. It's that, like the cells, like when you meet somebody and your cells know each other, and it's like that otherworldly thing, like us when we met, like I've known you from a past life thing. But then so we talk a lot about our aha moments. So I had an aha moment reading this book. My friend told me how to read this book, How to Not Die Alone. I mean, it sounds horrible, but it actually had some good points about how we get set in these patterns. And so she has three, people can have three dating tendencies, and there's a quiz we can link to at some point. Dating tendencies, you're either a romanticizer, a maximizer, or a hesitator. And so I'm a romanticizer, somebody who has unrealistic expectations of relationships, versus a maximizer, unrealistic expectations of their partners. Like, oh, I don't want to date somebody if they're not rich. I don't want to date somebody if they're fat, whatever that is. And then the hesitators who are like, I don't want to date. It's like that unrealistic expectations of themselves. I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite ready. I want to lose weight. I want to gain, whatever. I
think I'm that one. I'm the hesitator, but it's not about that I'm not ready. It's that I'm pretty comfortable being alone. And I don't know that I'd want somebody to I don't even know. I will discover as we talk about things, I suppose. But for me, I'm so interested in so many different types of people and what they have to say and how they feel and all that kind of stuff. And the idea of giving up my alone time or my individuality or my personal space, that isn't to say, I mean, I am a sexual being, and I enjoy dating and things like that. So I don't know where those two things combine.
It's very interesting because we're both coming from such different places, but so similar in that way. Like, I've got my act together and my life together, and I love my life. And I had already thought in my head, I really don't want to spend more than 3 days a week with somebody. How am I going to have that my night on the couch with my cats, or my night on the phone with my girlfriends? Or like, how do you fit all that in if your relationship is all consuming? I don't want that. So interestingly enough, I know exactly what I want, but there was this other podcast I listened to. It's really good to have these conversations. People are maybe wanting sex, companionship, or partnership. I want like partnership-ish. I don't want to get married. I'm not even sure I need to live with somebody, because like you said, we are set in our ways and we are happy in our ways, but I want like that thing to happen. So we, I think, both very, very happy where we are, but hoping to learn and discover and find more.
Yeah. And I mean, I grew up having to take care of myself a lot emotionally and physically. And so that, I think, parlays into where I am today, maybe in an unhealthy way in the beginning when I first was in my dating world and life, and a more centered, grounded place now as an adult.
Like you feel like you have shields up kind of thing, or armor up?
Yeah, armor. I mean, I think in my youth, in my beginning stages of dating, I was the what's the anxious attachment style, and now I think I'm avoidant attachment style. I think that love me, love me, love me, prove to me that I'm unlovable versus lovable feeling from childhood. Picking men who were, or boys at the time, who were unavailable and had so much baggage and stuff. And so it's interesting to see you shift from, you meaning me, shift from that one style to another as I get more grounded and more, years of therapy and understanding myself and all that.
And that really is what it's about, right? Because the more we understand ourselves and can be radically honest, and you meet somebody else who can understand themselves and be radically honest, then all those people that say it's all so hard, maybe that's part of the, again, hopefully we can help people figure out the blueprint a little bit.
Yeah. And ourselves too. I mean,
and ourselves at the same time. I have a lot of emotional learning to do still. And so again, I only think I really kind of had so many aha moments literally for the last couple of years. Has it just been like, oh, wow, aha, that makes sense now. Those are the best.
For me, I was reading the book Pussy Reclamation, and that, although I found her to be problematic in a couple spaces, the author, because she kind of lumped everybody together in some ways, and I'm not a lumper all together person. I think that it's so dependent on the person. And
right.
But the thing that was in that book that I really appreciated was her talking about getting so deeply in touch with one's own body, and not in parts, but as a whole, and then to refocus energy on my vagina, and realizing like, oh, maybe I have been ignoring her. Maybe I don't. Maybe I just go through the motions. Maybe I don't think about it. Maybe it's not something that occurs to me. And so since reading that book, I've tried to be in practice of being aware that she exists. Not that she has a gender, but I'm just going to call her.
I kind of call mine a she also. It just makes the most sense in my mind.
Yeah, just to say, oh, you exist. I appreciate you. I can feel you. And we're part of the same thing. That's not a separation. I think so many of us separate from our genitalia.
Separated from our bodies. Like, who has time to deal with that? It's go time. Yeah, I'm listening to it, which is good, because we were laughing about how I don't want to say pussy, and now I can say it without cringing. I was like, it's a vagina. I'm a medical provider, but it's also a pussy. Okay, because I listened to it instead of read it, it's getting easier.
Yeah,
I think it's a very good book for all genders to listen to.
I agree.
All people.
Yeah.
But especially as a woman, I'm only halfway through it, but it's definitely enlightening in the ways that it's just enlightening. Yeah, I'm gonna keep listening to it, and we'll share more as we go along here.
I agree. I think everyone should read it, no matter what stuff they were born with, because there's a lot of really wonderful information and a lot of powerful getting in touch with one's own body and getting in touch with a partner's body and what that means and what that looks like in a place that's sacred and vulnerable and open, and understanding that you can fuck and you can make love and you can have everything in between, and that it's all good and beautiful and perfect and ridiculous and fun and silly and all the things.
You and I have talked about this a lot. We didn't get a lot. Most people got very little teaching, learning, conversating about these things when we were younger. So we're going to do it now. We're going to reparent ourselves and talk about the shit out of pussies. And not together. And then we're going to figure out,
wait, what?
We're going to talk about all this stuff a lot.
Where that shit comes from.
Anyway, but on that note, and also you and I have made a pact that we're going to be vulnerable and honest and authentic and practice radical honesty, even though it does kind of scare me that all of my information is going to be in the big wide world. But I want to practice just being honest.
But we're also going to protect people, and it's not like we're going to use real names or any of that kind of stuff. And the timelines are going to be all wiggly. So we may be talking about something current, or it might be from the past. You'll never know. Only to protect the people somebody might recognize themselves in a conversation, but
Yeah.
that's important to keep people safe and protected. Also, we will have guests on the show.
Yes, I'm excited about that. Yeah.
It'll probably be, a month or two in as we build our momentum, and the show's going to come out every couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super exciting. Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. And can I make a correction though? So we're going to have a correction window at the bottom of all of these. So, a talk. So you had interviewed me for your Hey Human podcast. And I feel like as a medical provider, I have to clarify something. I felt like if anybody was listening to that, I was super minimizing the effects of HPV on cervical cancer. We were talking about it and my brain was more in a person having sex or a sexologist mindset, which is like HPV is like everywhere and most people have it. And so I was minimizing it, but that doesn't speak to the fact that all women need to make sure they're up to date on their yearly pap smear to make sure that there's no risk for cervical cancer.
Do men get, do men get tested for HPV in their throats or anything? Does that happen? Can they be?
I don't know the answer to that. There's been a lot more rectal cancer on the uprise. And so
because people eat ass, right?
Rectal cancer from having penetrative rectal sex.
Oh,
HPV, and then so HPV can lead to cancer. It can lead to warts on a man that leads to cancer. So essentially, I think you would use this, like HPV is like the glitter of STDs. It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
I was actually meaning to look that up soon. I think you can probably end up doing a rectal swab for HPV, but bottom line, I wanted to correct that. So anytime, I'm assuming we'll have room for that at the end of all of these, just to make sure that we're being factual and not misleading people.
Yeah, so maybe get that research. We'll put that in an upcoming episode.
I will write that down. We'll give people information about how to protect themselves from.
And we're going to do the best we can. We might get things wrong. If we do, we'll circle back, and also understand that we're two women, coming from our perspectives. Yet another podcast of people talking about themselves, but also, we are both absolutely encompassing of all people. And so if we do fuck up and do something, then say something that is maybe not PC or whatever, it's not intentional, and we will do our best to rectify. And this is a very loving space that we're in, a very open and honest space that we're in. And I think that's important to mention too.
I hope that people take it all that way, because Susan, you are the best at correcting me when I forget that I tend to overgeneralize and use genders, women and men. Yeah. So I appreciate you always calling me on that, because we want this to be something that everybody can listen to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my thing that I'm going to work on this week is to be less of a romanticizer, because I realized, it's not my fault. We were born in an age where all these romantic movies came out, and 16 Candles, and, You Complete Me. And I grew up reading this book, Hans Christian Andersen, with like the beautiful pictures of the Little Mermaid. And it was my favorite. I probably read it literally 1,000 times. What does she do? She gives up her voice for legs so she can go chase a man. Mm-hmm. Wow. Talk about bad messaging.
Yeah.
Right?
I saw a really fun take that Ursula the Sea Witch was actually the good person in that whole story, because she sort of was like, listen, chick, she was like the uber feminine,
Was she trying to get her back to the ocean? Was she like,
yeah, she's like, okay, well, I'm going to take your voice, and until you figure it out, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. It was a funny take, I thought.
I think it's a great take. I think that women looking out for women. I'm just saying.
Yeah. It's interesting. You brought up a point a minute ago too that I thought was interesting about how we weren't really given the information. My parents were really good about teaching me about sex, about the ins and outs, pardon the pun, but they weren't detail oriented. And we didn't talk about intimacy. We didn't talk about the humor of it or the fears of it or the body autonomy of it, or none of that stuff. It was more the science of it,
or the fact that it's supposed to be pleasurable. Nobody talks to anybody about.
I didn't know about orgasms.
Well, because you don't want to encourage people to have sex. Hello, every teenager is thinking about sex.
Yeah. I was trying to remember if we talked about masturbation. I don't know that we did. It's just, I know parents do the best they can, and that's why there's health classes, and some parents don't want to talk about it at all, and that's why there's health classes. But in my experience of growing up, the kids that got the sex talk were much later in life having sex than the kids that did not get the sex talk, who started having sex super young.
And less likely to get pregnant and get sexually transmitted infections.
If they got the talk.
If you had the talks, yeah. You're gonna, I mean, we'll talk about it more in our next episodes, but yeah, there's so many ways that we can help young people do it better than we got to do it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're excited to share. Let's get people doing it better. What's up next? What's our next topic? So in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about feminine and masculine energy and how that affects dating, relationships, and sex. And so that'll be a fun topic. And this has been amazing. Thank you for coming to Northern California and being at that restaurant so we can meet.
Thank you for being so open and lovely and saying, come sit with me, and forging this beautiful sisterhood that I think it's going to be a lifelong experience. So,
and the universe said so.
Yay. I love you. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Thank you for listening. Everybody stay well and connected.
All right. Bye.